You know that feeling when you are stuck at a dinner party and you end up seated next to someone who is undeniably brilliant, but they don't actually want to talk to you?
Oh, yeah, they just want to talk at you.
Exactly. You ask one simple question, maybe about like a book they read, and suddenly you are trapped in this 15-minute lecture.
Right, and you're just nodding along.
Yeah, your eyes are completely glazing over and you realize you aren't in a conversation at all. You are just, a captive audience member at that point.
You're just a sounding board for a monologue.
Yeah.
I mean, there is absolutely no exchange of ideas happening there. None. There's no space for your perspective to shape the direction of the discussion. The other person is basically just executing a data dump.
And honestly, for the last 3 years, that overbearing dinner party guest has basically been our daily experience with artificial intelligence.
They really have.
We type a prompt into a blank box, we cross our fingers, and we just brace ourselves for a wall of text. It's a very smart, very confident, but entirely one-sided lecture.
Yeah, total one-way street.
But today, we are taking a deep dive into a platform called Psyncr, and a specific philosophy of AI design that is trying to completely dismantle that dynamic.
Which is so refreshing.
It is. So, the mission of this deep dive today is to explore a profound shift in how you interact with AI. We are talking about moving from a machine that talks at you to one that actually thinks with you.
And it represents a fundamental shift in the whole relationship dynamic between the user and the machine.
Right.
And what is so compelling about how Psyncr introduces this shift is that it isn't positioned as some flashy, heavily marketed new product launch.
Yeah, it's pretty subtle.
Really subtle. The creator of the platform actually points out that the tool users thought they completely understood, a platform they've been using for their daily workflows, was really only half the picture.
Which is such a wild concept for anyone who uses software regularly. I mean, the premise here is that there has been a hidden feature literally waiting in plain sight that changes the entire AI experience.
Yeah, right there.
Exactly. So whether you are deeply embedded in the tech industry building custom workflows, or you are just someone who is completely exhausted by generic, predictable chatbot responses, we are going to break down the mechanics, the underlying technology, and the philosophy of a totally different kind of machine collaboration today.
Yeah, and the feature itself, which Psyncr simply calls chat, has just been sitting quietly in a drop-down menu labeled Scope.
The Scope menu, right.
Right, and it is very intentionally not described as like a bolted-on widget or just an afterthought to keep up with industry trends. It is framed as the literal other half of the system.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to me, this feels like you've been living in a house for 3 years.
Right.
You know the kitchen, you know the living room, you've got your whole morning routine down, and then one day, you lean against a bookshelf in the hallway, it clicks, it swings open, and you discover an entire second wing of the house you never even knew existed.
It's a great analogy.
You'd suddenly have to reevaluate the entire property,
Yeah, and stepping into that hidden wing makes you realize the new rooms actually contain the control panel for the entire house.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Because uncovering Syncr's chat feature in that scope dropdown isn't just a clever user interface trick to keep the dashboard looking clean. It is a gateway into a completely different methodology of interaction.
How so?
Well, up until now, most people interacting with AI have been forced into a transactional methodology. You give the machine a task, it hands you a product.
Prompt in, text out.
Exactly.
Right.
But by introducing this hidden half as a core component, Psyncr is signaling that the transactional model is fundamentally incomplete for complex knowledge work.
Interesting.
The chat feature is actually designed to be a collaborative workspace.
Mm-hmm.
It alters the user experience by demanding your active participation.
Right.
You aren't just placing an order at a drive-through window anymore. You are literally stepping into the kitchen to cook the meal alongside the chef.
Okay, I gotta say, I'm gonna need some convincing on that, though.
Fair enough.
Because I have tried plenty of tools that claim to be conversational, and usually, it just means the bot has slightly better manners.
It says, please and thank you.
Yeah, it says, that's a great question, before it dumps the exact same Wikipedia-style article on me anyway.
Right.
We've all endured these overbearing, generic GPT chatbots. So how is stepping into Syncr's kitchen actually any different from the standard ChatGPT experience, which honestly borders on incessant lecturing most of the time.
What's fascinating here is that the difference really comes down to the ratio of signal to noise.
Signal to noise, okay.
Yeah. So in communication theory, signal is the meaningful information. It's the insight that actually moves your understanding forward.
Right, the good stuff.
Exactly. And noise is the filler. So when an AI dumps 5 paragraphs of generic context that you didn't ask for and you already knew, that is noise.
It's lecturing.
It's lecturing. But Psyncr is engineered at its core to strip away that noise. It forces a true back-and-forth collaboration by utilizing restraint.
Restraint is not a word I generally associate with large language models.
No, definitely not.
I mean, they generally just want to predict the next token until they hit a hard character limit, right?
Which is exactly why building a system that doesn't do that is so incredibly difficult.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There was actually a live, unscripted test conducted to demonstrate this restraint. The creator used Psyncr to navigate a really complex business decision regarding the use of the word paradigms to describe the platform's foundational thinking.
Okay.
The AI had to discuss the core architecture of the product deeply with the user, iterating on marketing positioning without accidentally outputting or giving away the underlying company's secrets that it had sitting right there in its context window.
Wait, really? Holding a secret while discussing adjacent topics is incredibly difficult for a human, let alone an AI.
Exactly.
If the secret is in the context window, the math naturally just wants to pull it into the output.
And avoiding that trap is the hallmark of a true conversation. It requires contextual awareness, incredible restraint, and an ability to respond only to the immediate beat of the discussion.
Right.
An AI that just dumps to text can't navigate that nuance. It just regurgitates the statistical average of everything it knows.
Like a textbook.
Yeah, but an AI that forces true collaboration requires your input to take the next step. It waits for you. It listens, it analyzes your specific angle, and it responds proportionally. It provides more signal, and it demands more involvement from you, which really just makes it vastly superior to a system that just talks at you until it runs out of breath.
Okay, I see. It's like the difference between someone reading a textbook aloud to you and someone actually sitting down with you to brainstorm on a whiteboard.
Yes.
Erasing and redrawing ideas as you talk.
That's a great way to put it.
But if Psyncr is actually capable of this nuanced, restrained conversation, how is it pulling it off under the hood? I mean, the architecture here has to be completely different.
Oh, it is.
Because Psyncr apparently doesn't just filter the output, the words on the screen. It actually changes how the bot thinks by having you select from over 50 unique paradigms.
Right, and we are shifting here from surface-level prompt engineering to the cognitive architecture of the system itself.
Okay.
When you use a generic AI, you are getting an amalgamation of all human knowledge averaged out.
Right. The mean.
It is the mean of all perspectives, and that's why it so often feels bland or overly safe or patronizing even. But by introducing these 50 paradigms, Psyncr allows you to select a specific, highly curated worldview before the conversation even begins.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. Because standard prompting is essentially like handing an actor a script.
Yeah.
You give them the lines, they read them back. Maybe you tell the AI, rewrite this, but sound happier, and the actor just smiles while reading the exact same lines.
Right, the core doesn't change.
Exactly. But using Psyncr's paradigms feels like handing an actor a deeply complex psychological backstory. You don't just tell them what to say. You tell them who they are, how they process information, what their inherent biases are, and how they view authority.
Yes.
And when you do that, the actor doesn't just deliver the lines differently, they reason through the scene differently.
Because you are fundamentally altering the parameters of how the model evaluates the prompt. You are literally curating an intellect.
Wow.
Let's look at a practical example. Say you are trying to develop a strategy to launch a new product, and you bring that problem to Psyncr.
Okay.
If you select a paradigm engineered to act like a cynical, highly analytical venture capitalist, the AI is going to immediately look for the flaws in your supply chain and question your return on investment.
It's going to tear it apart.
Exactly. It will push back on your assumptions.
But like if I take that exact same product launch and switch the paradigm to a brand storyteller, the AI is going to completely ignore the supply chain logistics. It's going to ask me about the emotional resonance of the product, the narrative arc of the marketing campaign, how the consumer feels when they open the box.
Precisely. You are selecting the exact type of brain you need to collaborate with for a specific problem.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and instead of constantly rewriting your prompts over and over to manually steer the AI typing things like, no, be more critical, or no, look at this from a purely economic perspective, Psyncr allows you to evolve the response dynamically.
Step by step.
Right. You establish that baseline worldview, and then you just talk. You build the idea together. That is a massive breakthrough for deep conceptual work because it completely removes the friction of constantly having to manage the AI's personality.
Okay, I have a major problem with this, though.
Let's hear it.
I have tried to assign personas to AI before. I'll give it this strict set of rules, and for the first 10 minutes, it's great. But by the third or fourth follow-up question, the AI completely forgets who it is. My cynical venture capitalist suddenly turns into a chipper customer service rep offering me generic platitudes.
Right. The illusion breaks.
Yeah. So maintaining a highly curated worldview in a long, winding conversation seems technically impossible given how these models degrade over time.
Well, the symptom you're describing is known in the industry as drift.
Drift.
And preventing it is arguably the most impressive technical feat behind this entire platform.
Really?
Yeah. In artificial intelligence, drift refers to a large language model's inherent tendency to gradually wander away from its assigned persona or parameters over the course of an interaction.
Just naturally drifting away.
Right, because LLMs are probabilistic engines, constantly predicting the next most likely word. They naturally want to revert to their base training.
It's a mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They possess this mathematical gravitational pullback toward being that generic, overbearing chatbot we started this conversation with.
Okay, so how does Psyncr stop gravity? Because they outline a pretty intense development evolution. They spent over 3 months honing output, producing over 20 foundational apps before arriving at this final product.
That's a lot of iteration.
And apparently the secret sauce is something called zero drift technology.
Right. So zero drift technology is the implementation of incredibly rigid technical guardrails deep within the system architecture. It locks the paradigm in place regardless of how long the context window gets.
Wow.
But getting there was a volatile journey.
I bet.
Initially, this technology was built on a custom GPT platform.
Okay.
And that worked perfectly for the GPT 4.0 model, which was the environment it was designed for. But as newer models were released and the host platform updated its underlying infrastructure, that custom GPT environment became highly unstable.
The guardrails failed.
The guardrails started failing.
So what does this all mean for the everyday user? Because why should someone trying to, say, write a business plan care whether a tool is running on a custom GPT platform or if it's been migrated, as Psyncr was, to an API-based environment?
A great question.
To me, building on a custom GPT platform sounds like building a fully customized, beautiful house on rented land.
Yes.
If you build on a platform you don't control and the landlord decides to shift the foundation or change the zoning laws, which is exactly what happens when OpenAI or Anthropic release hidden updates to their models, your house cracks.
Exactly.
Your perfectly designed AI just loses its mind. So moving the zero drift technology to an API is like buying the plot of land outright. You guarantee the house stays exactly where you built it on the exact foundation you poured.
That analogy perfectly captures the structural vulnerability of relying on consumer-facing platforms for professional tools.
Right.
The API migration ensures that the massive platform providers cannot arbitrarily override Psyncr's groundbreaking protocols.
That makes total sense.
Because when you operate a custom GTT, you are at the absolute mercy of the host's hidden updates. They might quietly tweak a safety filter or, adjust a mathematical weight in the model to make it more concise, and suddenly the venture capitalist paradigm you rely on is completely compromised.
The character breaks.
Exactly.
Huh.
So by porting everything to an API-based environment, Psyncr insulates the zero drift technology.
Okay.
And from a user perspective, it means absolute trust in the tool. You can engage in a 3-hour brainstorming session exploring complex, multi-layered ideas, knowing that the specific intellect you selected in minute 1 is the exact same intellect you are collaborating with in minute 180.
That is wild.
The API environment locks the cognitive architecture in place, providing a depth of collaboration that genuinely has no equal right now.
Okay, so locking this tech into an API saves the persona, which is obviously incredibly useful.
Yes.
But stepping back, it feels like Psyncr is swimming against the tide here. If you look at Silicon Valley right now, every major tech company is racing in the exact opposite direction.
They really are.
They aren't trying to build tools that force you into a 3-hour brainstorming session. The entire industry obsession right now is the drive toward standalone agents.
Yep, and that is the philosophical battleground defining the next decade of artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And Psyncr is planting its flag firmly on the side of what is called the authored intelligence philosophy.
Okay, I'll play devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
If I can have a standalone agent that I can just assign a goal to, say, analyze my competitors and write a marketing strategy, and it goes off into the digital world, executes the task, and comes back with a finished PDF while I sleep, why wouldn't I want that?
It sounds great. Right?
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Why would I want an AI that forces me to do the work with it? Standalone agents sound like the ultimate luxury.
Well, they are a luxury if the goal is purely task automation. If you want an AI to sort your inbox or book your flights or scrape data into a spreadsheet, a standalone agent is perfect.
Sure.
But the creator of Psyncr explicitly warns that when it comes to knowledge work, standalone agents effectively leave us out of the picture.
Oh, I see.
And these concepts were heavily outlined in the book Speak to the Machine, which was released in 2022.
And just as a quick side note on how fast this industry is moving, that book has already required 8 full revisions since 2022 just to keep up with the tech landscape.
It's crazy.
8 revisions in a handful of years.
Well, those 8 revisions track the rapid, aggressive industry pivot from simple text generators to these complex autonomous agents. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this raises an incredibly important question about the fundamental purpose of AI in creative and strategic fields.
Right.
The standalone agent philosophy believes the ultimate goal of AI is replacement. The machine does the thinking, you collect the output.
Okay.
But if the AI does all the thinking to formulate your business strategy or write your novel or design your product, you haven't actually created anything. You have just placed an order.
You're the client, not the creator.
Exactly. Authored intelligence draws a hard line against that future. It does not seek to replace the human mind. It seeks to elevate it.
I love that.
It demands that the human remains the author, the driver of the final output. Every element of Psyncr's design, the 50 distinct paradigms, the API-protected zero-drift guardrails, the back-and-forth chat interface hidden in that drop-down menu, it is all engineered to keep you involved in a continuous dynamic loop.
It's a tool for thought.
It is a tool for thought, not a replacement for thinking.
It's like the difference between hiring a ghostwriter to write your book for you and hiring a brilliant, relentless editor to challenge your ideas, poke holes in your plot, and force you to write a better book yourself.
That's it.
Psyncr wants to be the editor. And honestly, for anyone who actually enjoys the friction of the creative process, for anyone who likes to think, that is a wildly attractive proposition.
Because it reframes the entire value proposition of artificial intelligence. The promise isn't about saving time by avoiding the work. The promise is about exponentially increasing the quality of the work by providing you with a tireless, highly specialized intellectual partner that forces you to articulate and refine your ideas.
Well, for those listeners who want to test this authored intelligence theory in their own workflows, Psyncr does have a trial available. You can grab 7 days for free at Cincer.com to see if this methodology actually suits the way you work.
Highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, and if you are an LTD Lifetime Deal subscriber, you already have access and can jump right in. But the real experiment here isn't just clicking through a new interface. It's testing whether you can actually handle an AI that forces you to think.
And honestly, the barrier to entry for that experiment is remarkably low.
Oh, yeah.
The workflow doesn't require mastering complex prompt engineering. You just select the chat scope, define your topic, choose the paradigm that best fits the problem, and begin the collaboration.
Just like that.
Just like that. The complexity is handled by the system's architecture, leaving you free to focus entirely on the ideas.
Choose the scope, type the topic, pick your brain, and go. Instead of fighting the machine, rewriting your prompt over and over in total frustration, you dynamically evolve the response together. It really is a paradigm shift.
Truly.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought to chew on. Something to mull over the next time you open a chat window. We've spent this entire time exploring how incredible it is that Psyncr's 50 paradigms allow you to perfectly shape how your AI thinks.
Right.
You can match it to your exact worldview, your specific project needs, and your personal cognitive preferences.
Which is incredibly powerful.
It is. But if we possess the power to perfectly curate the intellect we interact with, do we risk creating the ultimate, highly intellectual echo chamber?
Oh, that's a fascinating point.
Right. If the machine can be tuned to always approach a problem the exact way we want it approached, are we ever truly challenged by a perspective completely alien to our own? Or By giving the AI these rigid, predictable personas, have we finally built the ultimate friction-free thought partner that allows human creativity to reach its absolute peak without the distraction of interpersonal conflict?
That is the big question.
It's definitely something to think about, because the next time you sit down at that metaphorical dinner party, you finally get to choose exactly who is sitting next to you. You don't have to listen to the lecture anymore. The hidden door is open, the parameters are set, and the conversation is entirely up to you.
Get your free 7-day trial at Psyncr.com.